Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Stuphamism. I'm talking today about the road to platinum in ranked PvP in Guild Wars 2. I chose to use Reaper. It's my favorite. That is my favorite class to play, specialization to play, and this is going over pretty much the first 25 rounds that I played. That's including the first 10 qualifying rounds, and that's pretty much what it took for me to get into tier 3 gold, which at this point now, it's a struggle to get to that platinum point. I've went up and I've went down. I'll just kind of show you where I'm at right now. So I've been higher than this, and then I've dropped back down. So there's a lot of things that I'm going to be changing, but we're going to go over that in the next video. Getting to tier 3 gold, I was able to do something a little bit more squishy, a little bit more fun, and that's the build I'm going to go over right now. Things get a little bit more technical, and I'm assuming that they're going to change again once I get into the platinum category. But for now, we're gonna go over this build and some of the techniques I use to get where I'm at now. I went with a staff and greatsword build that focuses on basically vampiric traits in order to stay alive. The amulet that I'm using right now is the grieving amulet, which is basically all-out damage. There's no defense there. The rune of the Reaper, and that's going to chill enemies every time I use a shout, which most of my utilities are shouts. And then just your condition removing Signal of Purging. I've got Signal of Agility when I switch to the greatsword, just to pick up a little bit of quickness when I'm about to pop off some of these greatsword moves, because they can feel a little bit slow at times, and speed is key with a build like this. And then also Signal of Doom, which is a little extra poison when I switch over to the staff. Soul Reaping, Blood, and Reaper, those are the specializations that I chose. And the Soul Reaping, of course, marks become unblockable, which is pretty nice with the staff, especially if you're going against guardians or warriors or somebody that has a lot of blocks. At least that's one skill that you don't have to really worry about not being being blocked. And then battle persistence. The Shroud skills, they gain reduced recharge, which is pretty important. Shroud is a big majority of our damage here. And then in Death Perception, which is increased critical while in Shroud, 50% critical increase. Then in the Blood Tree, I went with the Lesser Signet of Vampirism, which whenever you have enough stacks of bleeding, 4 stacks of bleeding, then you have the Lesser Signet of Vampirism on your enemy, which is just going to siphon some of their health. Not quite as much as the healing signet itself, but it's still something, and it's every 20 seconds, so it's a pretty good defensive trait. And then Vampiric Presence, once again, just some more life siphoning there. And then Unholy Martyr for condition removal when we go in and out of Shroud form. In the Reaper tree, I've got Shouts gain reduced recharge, and they also siphon health, and they gain additional recharge reduction for each foe they hit. And since we're using mostly Shouts, this is a pretty good synergy for just constantly applying chill, constantly siphoning more health. So once again, part of our defense, and also part of our control mechanism, our chill. And then I got the Soul Eater greatsword skills, gain reduced recharge, periodically healing and gain life force while wielding a greatsword. And I actually use greatsword a lot more than I thought I would with this build. This worked out pretty well. Last but not least, Deathly Chill, which damages or deals damage over time, which deals bleeding. So this is where we're getting our pretty consistent stacks of bleeding to continuously trigger this Lesser Signet of Vampirism. So this is pretty constant. You're constantly chilling because you're constantly using shouts that have a reduced recharge, not to mention some of the other abilities and stuff that we have here. So every 20 seconds you've got lesser signet of vampirism, and then you have several other vampire traits. Whenever we're hitting these shouts, they're also siphoning. And then last but not least, plague signet, which depending on the other team comp, if they've got no necros or maybe one necro, it's and they've got 2 guardians or guardian warrior, it's not something I wouldn't switch to a different shout for. Like nothing can save you, where you're unblockable and you're causing more vulnerability on that other melee person. I've actually switched that up, just depending on the other team comp. But in general, what I've noticed from especially the qualifying rounds and lower gold tiers, and I'll kind of get into why I started off in lower gold tiers here in a minute, but a lot of those players, if you just keep on moving, you can kind of outmaneuver these guys with a build like this, and you're doing heavy damage. So the vampire traits alone are enough to kind of keep you alive in most scenarios, especially team fights. It kind of shines what my role, I feel like, in that with this character is to kind of come in and pick somebody off. It works really well. You're not necessarily in a build where you can just stand still right in the middle of of a mid fight, but you're very good at coming around and picking people off or flanking them. And in several situations, this is a good build to take somebody down one-on-one. I've actually got some clips of that, as well as group fighting, that are coming up next, so you'll kind of get to see that. But just kind of to go over some of the techniques that I'm learning and learned. This is the first season I've really jumped into trying to actually get to platinum. Usually I'm just trying to test out different rank builds to see what I like, and that's kind of one of my favorite things to do anyways, is just to come up with new ideas. But and this is no different really. This is something that I made just practicing around in ranked builds. But this season I'm going to focus a little bit more on trying to get to platinum and play at that level, because things do change as you go up in tiers, and I still want to create builds, but I'm going to be testing them out unranked instead, so that I can kind of focus on this season, like I say, because build testing doesn't always work out the way you want it to. And just in the qualifying rounds alone, the first 3 matches that I played were all losses. First 2, we ended up having somebody drop out, and then the 3rd round we had somebody disconnect right in the middle. So right from the beginning, this was already a challenge, because and maybe some of you guys can relate. I got smacked in the face with 3 losses right away, and then struggled to try to team fight through the rest of it. But in the qualifying rounds, if you're running into situations like that, or your communication with your team is bad, then you're going to end up starting off in lower gold tiers. So that's what I ran into. But communication is what I'm finding out to be one of the most important things. And also just at the beginning of that round, hitting the B button, seeing what the other team has, seeing what your team has, looking at your other teammates and saying, okay, we have no support here, they have two necros, mid could be a problem, and maybe you should discuss with your group rather quickly. They've got 2 necros, we have no support, but we have high damage and mobility. Maybe we should split up, go home and far this time, and try to just rotate, stuff like that. But or maybe you have a strong composition for mid, and maybe you just want to send one person home and all 4 go, and just go ahead and claim that right from the beginning and hold it. So several different things, and like I say, I'm learning too on this stuff. Several different things like that will make or break a fight, but communication is key. I mean, it just really is. If you get in a group and nobody wants to communicate, then you do your best to do the right thing. But unless you're like a carry class, which I'm sorry, but Reaper just is not right now, then not for me, not in the gold, not in tier 3 gold anyway, for sure. But unless you're just a carry class, you're probably not going to be able to get your team. And once again, I'm entitled to my own opinion, and other people are too. But I don't believe that you're going to get to platinum without communication, unless you're just able to carry a whole team, or unless you're with people that all know what they're doing. And most likely, qualifying rounds, it's not going to be that way. Tier 1 gold, it's not going to be that way. Tier 2 gold, probably not going to be that way. It's a lot more, if ands or buts there. Tier 3 gold, as I've said, I'm kind of up and down in tier 3 gold right now. Win to lose to, what I'm learning now is a big part of it is just communication with your team, and obviously being nice to the other people on your team, and not trying to take people off right from the beginning. That's a good way of not having a good team communication. Some of the best rounds that I played, we may have had a composition that was not favorable and still won just because we were able to discuss what we were going to do beforehand. So, or even during, claiming 3 coming to mid, or incoming home. Just those small simple things. It's a big deal. So, but without further ado, and to quit talking, I'm going to go ahead and play some stuff, play some of the rounds that I played, and I've just kind of made like almost a montage of this, trying to split up, team play stuff with, 1 versus 1, and then, at the end of this, I think I'm going to just go ahead and put some of the stats at the end of the matches. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. Leave comments, let me know your feedback. Doesn't bother me if you guys disagree. I'd like to hear it anyway. Just, discussion is always key, and hopefully this helps you guys as much as it's helping me learn a little bit more about ranked PvP, because right now Guild Wars 2, this is one of the best games to jump into PvP right now. And the content, PvP content, is just a lot more challenging than the PvE content, in my opinion. It's more fun. So check it out, guys. Let me know what you think, and give me a like if you like the video. Subscribe below. Hit the notifications if you want to see more of this. I'm coming up with some more videos throughout the season, so stay tuned. Thanks.